This is the Life Spirits Paranormal Podcast, Episode 3. I am Franklin, and
I am Devin.
And today we are going to talk about aliens, well-known paranormal stories, possession, and of course, Led Zeppelin. So, I want to jump right in. First of all, thank you if you've listened to our previous podcast. We are still getting started, but every ounce of support still helps. It does take a lot of time to get this together, and
right, and then also with each episode, we would we improve with each episode,
and we will.
Yes,
this episode will probably be considered shit by us in a couple months, and I most certainly hope that is what happens. So, starting off with aliens. You believe they're real?
Yes, but there's like different species of aliens, which is quite weird.
And I agree.
Some good, some bad.
I think you should give your take on it first.
Like what? Like just on how I feel?
Everything you feel about aliens.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I believe that they're real, and all that stuff. But then also if there was a abduction here, I would kind of want to be abducted just to experience that. But that could, I'm not too sure on that. But about that though, there are like people who have been abducted, have like found like little balls of like something in them, like metal or like wood.
That's weird.
or something. But then every time that a doctor tries to pull it out, the ball moves away. So it's very weird. But then also within aliens, there's these things called grays,
right? Which
is very bad.
Well, they're like the stereotypical what you think of aliens. They have the big heads and the round eyes and they're short, right? Or could they be tall?
I'm not too sure on that. Really,
like I've always, from what I've heard, which I don't want to get too far into my view of this yet, but I've heard it could go either way.
Yeah, but usually the grays are the bad ones. And then I'm not too sure what the good ones are called because we don't really focus on them.
Right.
But we focus on the bad ones just because I think we love the bad more than we do the good.
Right. And where I see aliens, or where I come from it, is from a side, like, I want to point out, in the dynamic of this podcast, I feel like I'm going to be the skeptical one in almost every given situation, just by nature.
Right.
A pessimist. But when it comes to aliens, I 100% believe, it has to be possible with the vastness of space. An alien, people talk about aliens, they're not talking about extraterrestrial life. They're discussing intelligent extraterrestrial life. No one gives a shit if there's a rabbit living on some other solar system as much as they care about aliens that, are intelligent. My issue is when you get to aliens coming to Earth. And the reason is, first of all, space is pretty more than just a little vast. For us to travel to other star systems would take hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And then millions and then billions of years the further you get out. So obviously they have to have something more than just even light travel, because light travel, which is impossible by physics standards, is still too slow to do this. So of course they would have to be on a technological, enlightened level so far beyond what humans are capable of. Then when you get to that point, why are they coming here? Why are they abducting people and studying them? Especially in ways that they can be noticed if they are so intelligent that they can travel across billions of years of space-time, using that as an estimation of length, without without any sort of repercussions. Like, that's my issue with a lot of these alien abduction stories, is that aliens would be so intelligent. If they wanted to end human life, they could do it probably with no shits given, if they were intelligent to reach Earth. I don't know if any aliens have actually ever visited Earth, just because I would have to see that, know that these things are aliens, which is it's far crazier than just things coming from space, because they would have had to travel so goddamn far to get here.
Right.
When it comes to abduction stories, I'm not sure there's any that I legitimately believe, that I look at and I say, I believe this story to be true. Not to say that they are false. I'm just saying that there's yet to been a story about aliens abducting people that I believe. When it comes to UFOs, again, I feel like there's always an explanation. It doesn't always have to be alien life. If you see a UFO that does crazy shit that doesn't seem possible, especially if it's near a military base, then I feel it's better to contemplate whether this is another nation or your own nation with technology that is far beyond what you think they had. And that's just my standpoint on it.
Right.
But keeping the topic moving along, if aliens were visiting Earth and abducting people, why do you think they would be doing it?
Experimentation, is what some people think, and I sort of agree with that, because it does make sense that they would be doing this. What are these things, just the same way that we would be experimenting on them.
Right, yeah.
Sort of just basically dissecting them, but putting them it's sort of like a surgery, basically. I see what's in here, right. See what it is about, see how it functions, and then make it,
Yeah, and I always have felt that, again, if it was that aliens were abducting people, I feel like the biggest thing they would want to know is how intelligent is humanity. Are they at a point where they either are potentially going to cause harm to these aliens? Like, are they some intergalactic species or have the potential? And I feel like the aliens would be looking into that. Does this species have the potential to somehow increase its intelligence or increase its technological aspirations to a point where they could cause harm or cause threat to these alien races? That's the only way I can really see reason. I don't feel like aliens just have such a dire curiosity that they travel billions of light years to see whether humans bleed. So that's the thing, is I just feel that aliens are far more advanced than humans even perceive them in media, just because there would be no war with humans, so I can't see purpose for that, where they're slowly trying to take down human society or find our weaknesses. If they can travel that vastness of a distance, there is something more than just, space travel. People always act like, oh, well, if humans went to other planets, they would probably declare war on, the aliens. It's like, that's not a 1 = 1. These aliens didn't evolve in the same way we did. And even further, they've evolved far more than we have, if they have the capacity to travel these distances. And that's just what I say. Of course, leave your comments if you have, whatever your views are. We'd love to hear them. Also, to know you're out there really helps.
Yeah, it does. So Men in Black, this is like the new topic here, but it sort of relates to aliens very well, because after a lot of well-known UFO sightings or alien sightings, however you want to call them, people have witnessed these guys, or people have talked with these people dressed up in black suits, just like the Men in Black on TV.
Right.
That's sort of where that movie comes from. Is these is these things because also in the movies it was like right when they seen an alien, here comes these men in black, walk up and then they flash the thing, but basically that's what these real men in black guys do, is that like right after you see like a UFO or something that you aren't supposed to see, here comes these two guys,
right.
And it is usually two men like in like the suits, black suit, like a white dress shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's what it is. But then some of them are pretty intimidating, which is very frightening.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but my issue with this is that the government gives no shits whether any of us believe in aliens. They don't, because realistically, if you say I believe in aliens, people are like, okay. If you say I saw an alien, people start to get a little weary, and then you say I was abducted or I saw this, people think you're crazy. The government's not going to send men after you because you saw an alien or thought you saw an alien, because nobody's going to believe you. People will believe that you said they sent government agents more likely than they'll believe your story. So I do, but I don't think that these people are lying or wrong. I think there are men in black, but they appear around UFOs, right?
Yeah, they do.
So I think that says
it's
something
like right after the sighting.
I feel like it says more about the UFO than it does about the alien, because think about it. If the U.S. government or some other government is testing high-end military tech, they don't want other nations to know about it. They spent billions of dollars developing something that no one else will know about. They're probably, if somebody sees it that's not supposed to see it, or if they think that someone has the opportunity or the possibility of talking, maybe sending intimidating government workers over there to be like, hey, you didn't see anything, right? Kind of scares those people into not talking about it. Or even so, maybe pushes the idea that it's an alien, because the government would, if it's a military vehicle, the government would love you to think it's a
UFO.
It's a UFO or an alien, because that only kind of hides the true nature of the vehicle. So that's where I stand on all of this, is I do think Men in Black are real, but I just don't think they're related to aliens.
Well, I don't know where to go with that one. but it's just the fact that these people see him like right after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think, again, the government's the one that's if they're causing the UFO, they're going to know when people are seeing them, If you say we're going to be doing a military test sighting, if people see that they aren't supposed to see us, have these people on the side just in case.
But then again, it's like if a few people see something over a town,
mm-hmm.
they aren't going to go to everybody in the town.
Mm-hmm.
They're only going to go to very few that have seen this. And it's weird is they know who's seen it and they know who didn't. That's what's weird about it.
I feel like it could be who talks. I feel like it could really be if I looked outside where I live and I saw what appeared to be a plane without wings spinning around with lights on the sides, whatever it is, I would probably tell people I saw this. And if you did have enough intimidating people going around asking who saw this, I feel like, especially in a small town, where a lot of these military bases are located next to, word could get around pretty quickly if this person saw this, or this person thought they saw this, and government agents could. Again, I don't think that there'd be like you saw this, we're gonna erase your brain, because I think that if aliens were real, especially since the government has made avid attempts to try to prove that aliens are real, they have no issue with proving aliens are real if they were real. It just increases funding for their various projects more. because in the end it's all about money. So if a government studio...
That is very true, though.
Yeah, if NASA said, we found absolute proof of life in another galaxy, hell of a lot more money's going to NASA next fiscal year because they've done something major. They've given America better standing on a global stage, a better view in the world's eyes. There's no negative. If they had access to a body, yeah, they'd say we have access to a alien body. Look at that, Russia. Do you have that?
Yeah, and there's been stories out there, like
Roswell,
in the past, and there's been some video,
right, which was
but all proven to be fake,
right.
So,
and that's my thing with aliens is I think aliens aren't really, they're barely in the paranormal. We've made them as Americans primarily. We've made it into this paranormal idea.
We made everything, like even Bigfoot. In America, it falls under the paranormal field.
Right. Whereas, is it really paranormal, or is it really just kind of this thing that... I mean, again, paranormal is just something we don't understand.
Yeah, that's like natural. The real meaning of the word.
Right. But, I mean, like, beyond reality, to have something beyond reality, aliens, they don't... It's not like they somehow break the rules that exist in our natural setting. Maybe in physics... To be able to travel, yes. But so...
Yeah, but that's not them. That's like... I mean, it could be them because, they possibly made these things. Mm-hmm. But then, yet again, it's not really them as a being. It is what they
built.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, right now, scientists that develop things such as freezing objects to close to absolute zero... and those materials begin acting in properties that no physicists have ever seen before, that's technically paranormal because it's beyond what we thought natural. It technically is.
Yeah, but we are learning that it does this in this situation.
At that moment, it becomes natural.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the interesting dynamic of all of this. I feel like that's a great point to end on this somewhat one but two topic series. So, next topic, well-known paranormal stories. I'd like to disclose I'm not well-versed in the paranormal world. I'd almost argue my primary experience is in the classic 50s to 60s television program, The Twilight Zone, with Rod Serling. I mean, that's about as far as it goes.
Oh, God.
So,
so basically you're putting this all on me for this.
I mean, look, I watch Ancient Aliens. It's fun. Sometimes they make good points. Sometimes they derail their whole argument in a couple very many minutes. But it's still an entertaining show. But yeah, in terms of the well-known paranormal stories, I mean, what, you got Rod, like... I'd say people know stuff about, like, the Jersey Devil. People know stuff about, like, Chupacabra. I don't even know if that's considered paranormal.
Yeah.
Like, you start getting into sort of these creatures. But in terms of, like, ghosts, possessions, Satan, I'm a little in the dark.
Basically about this topic is, like, actual things that actually, or what you heard happen to other people in the past, and I was going to say future for some reason.
In the future? I heard the story in the future.
But it's not.
Right.
It's an awful idea. But anyway, basically, to begin this sort of broad topic, and we could do this every week if we want to, but basically, the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Barney and Betty Hill abduction, which is an alien abduction.
Yeah, I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the one with the dress, which now they have at a museum, which on the dress they found, like, traces of radiation or something like that. And then also, these people sort of lost time. Like, I don't know if it was 6 hours or something like that, but it was like a long amount of time that they said went missing because before the abduction, it was like earlier, obviously, like in like the daytime, I think it was, but they were in the middle of driving down this road, and then they see some shit, or basically, I think how they described it as was they were driving, and then they came back, and then they seen the time, and then it was just like hours lost.
Like 6 hours just disappeared.
Yeah, but then they do remember what happened within those 6 hours, but it's like deep in, it's deep in their thoughts. It's like deep in there, like you have to have like a special way to like get this out.
See, I did a little bit of research on this for a video I did in the past about these sort of creatures.
So like on like this certain
this abduction, one? They were government workers, right? Like post office workers or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's my thing. Again, with the advancements of alien technology, I do imagine that if they could abduct somebody, they could perfectly wipe their mind clean. Again, they have the technology to travel light years in a lifespan. Sorry, that was light years. I don't know if I said that. But they have that technology. I feel like they should be able to wipe somebody's mind perfectly clean and not leave any traces. Like, that's almost like saying that we can go to the moon, but we can't remember how to build a pickaxe and mine for rocks or fly a plane. Like, that's my issue, is it's such a downgrade in technology. So, where I stand on the story, what year was this again? Was it in the 50s?
55, I think it was.
Look, the U.S. government has done a lot of terrible shit back then. I mean, studies, again, there's so much that I'd love to get into. By that point, we're getting into conspiracy theorist stuff, which I'm completely open to, if you guys are. But the U.S. government has done a lot of tests. So I really do feel like something with them involving the U.S. government happened. If it did happen, again, I'm not going to sit here and make claims that this did or did not happen, but if it did happen, I think it's entirely possible that they're driving, but the U.S. government, they must have had some way, if this happened, to kind of make them forget everything that happened so it appears as though they just skipped 6 hours. I feel like that, I do think that's possible, but again, the U.S. government in the 50s, would they have the technology to wipe somebody's brain perfectly clean? Probably not. I don't know if that's even possible now. So, I think the story is completely plausible, but the aliens part is where I almost feel like
it's iffy or something?
Yeah, because, look, if I worked for the government, and you're supposed to orchestrate this whole big ordeal for whatever reason, if you just have the lab people dress up like aliens, I mean, you're basically set. Especially in the 50s. This is right after the World War II. The American people love their government.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on the edge, and they don't think that weird shit is happening, even though it is. So you're less likely to have people accuse the government of doing this to you, especially then. I really do think it's something far more sinister than aliens abducting people. Like, that's just me. Again, skeptical on any given situation without proof. Do you think it was aliens? How did we get to... We're still on aliens.
That we are, Franklin. That we are.
I feel like this is just the alien episode. Our next topic is possession, and somehow we're going to end up on possession by aliens. And then the next topic is Led Zeppelin. It's going to be Led Zeppelin loved aliens or some shit like that. So, what is your view on this story?
My view
Mm-hmm.
on this story? Well, you sort of make a good point that we can't really tell, that it was fully alien. But we can, however, say it is unexplainable. Because they did lose, 6 hours time.
But do they have proof? That's what I'm asking. Technically, two people could just orchestrate a story and say, we lost 6 hours of time.
Well, to me, since I didn't do any research on this thing, but it's a known, it's a known story. But for me, and for other people, the proof would be the dress.
The radiation in the dress.
Yeah, because if you put a UV light over it, I think it shows spots on the dress of it's not supposed to be there.
Look, I have a hard time believing that any couple would go to such lengths to have a story. So I don't think they'd be finding just some radioactive material and putting it on a dress. I think that's almost more far-fetched than the story itself. But I think that, again, that almost connects me to think more of the government before I think of aliens. Because I don't think aliens are using radioactive technology that is harmful if they're that advanced. But the U.S. government in the 1950s, all about that shit.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just think about right now. If you were abducted by aliens, I don't think people would instantly go look for whether you have radioactive material on you, because that's not in the American conscious's mind, and it's not as prominent in the government either. We're beyond the nuclear age. But back then, nuclear, radioactive stuff was far more prominent in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And that's almost for me connecting this further to that point. Again, I'm not taking any official stance, but it seems a little. It would not surprise me. We know shit has happened. There is stories I would love to talk about on here, and I probably will at some point, that the U.S. government has done that are almost far more interesting than this story. But on this point,
Well, I do have another story for you. Around the same period.
Mm-hmm.
But then around the same period, 1955, yet again in that same decade, as I said before, I think this is the story that I seen, remade on this show that accounts, something like The Haunting or something like that redoes people's stories. And they act them out, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then, basically, this story is a family that was living not out west. They were living in Kentucky, in the only house within miles and miles and miles. But then one night, one incident, which is a famous incident, they had these aliens, the dog went beneath.
Still on aliens, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then, because this is a big one.
Okay.
This terrified these people's, life.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, because they lived in fear after this. So basically, how they knew it wasn't, or knew I'm not. Anyway.
Strike that from the record.
Basically, they knew it wasn't anything normal because the dog would usually sit on the porch and whatnot. But then this incident, that it ran off of the porch and went beneath the porch and whatnot. And then they all went inside or something like that. But then anyway, though, later in the night, they seen these figures come out of the woods, and then. So then what do? Being from the South?
Pull out their guns.
They do. They pull out their guns, and then they start shooting at these aliens. And what happens with the aliens is when they get shot at, they sort of fade away. And then they come back, and then they shoot at them more. Fade away, come back, and then it sort of stopped for a minute, and then and then it appeared at the window, and so then they shot the window, and then basically what I'm getting at is aliens somewhat attacked this house. They didn't get inside the house, but they played with these people,
And look, I hate to always be skeptic. No, I love it.
The Debbie Downer here,
yes.
right?
But in this specific case, I would have to, one, take the consideration, again, aliens with at least millions of years advanced technology of ours are effectively going to a southern home and just messing with people. Like, that is... Like, you're effectively telling me that it'd be the equivalent, again, going to demons somehow, that Satan comes out of my closet and says, "Boo!" when I'm sleeping, and then goes back in and disappears, never to enter my life again. I mean, it's a very similar concept, which, frankly, I don't subscribe to. Boo! I'm Satan! I mean, like, Satan aside... That should be the name of our podcast, by the way. Satan aside.
God damn it.
But I don't believe stories of aliens just messing with people. I think there always must be purpose. Again, even the government. I don't think the government's messing with people, so I'm not just going to go to the government every time. But I don't think the government...
not on this one. I don't think on this one. But yet we can go to that house. Well, not right now, obviously, but we could go to this house that was built, in like the 1800s or whatever. So, it was like the first one built on this road. But then the next story that I was going to say, that's funny how you brought up demons, because the next story is a case of possession.
Wait. Should we tie this into our next topic?
You can, if you want to.
We're beginning...
I mean, it's sort of like two things, well-known stories with the case of possession.
As long as we don't go back to aliens, I'm moving.
I'm not.
Okay, then we're moving on to the next topic, which is kind of a hybrid of the two stories.
Yes. Basically, though, this lady's name is Annalise Michael. Yeah, no, she has first two names, or two first names. I'm backwards today.
Quality podcast, guys. Really.
I'm backwards, Franklin. I'm backwards.
Top-notch stuff. Big D.
But basically, though, this young lady, she was going to college, I believe, but the story on her was days would go on, and she would get worse. And then they had an exorcism kind of thing because they went in everywhere else and they said something. I think it was like, she's perfectly fine, whatever, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this. So then they had a priest come in and had a exorcism done because she was speaking in a different voice. And there are recordings of her during the exorcism, which doesn't sound like her one bit. Like, it sounds like a completely different...
So, we're going to actually play the recording here right now. So, Devin, this is what she sounded like during the exorcism. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, so
I think you stopped it just because you didn't want to hear any more.
No, I didn't because
of that.
Let me. So it sounds to me like at first when I first heard it, I was really skeptical, of course, because she still had her same timbre of voice, and that's something about every human innately is you really can't change your timbre, but
and she begins to like speak differently.
Well, it's like
it's like a different language almost.
It's not even the language that concerns me, because of course that can always be explained somehow through natural means, somehow.
Right.
But it's when her voice is dipping like an octave or two below what any woman could probably produce of a sound. Mm-hmm. And like it was like one of the lowest voices I've heard. That was pretty conclusive, at least that something fucked up is going on. Whether it's a demon, whether it's not even a demon, something in her head. I don't know, but yeah, like her voice was way different. Because you could tell, it almost sounded like sometimes it was her voice, and then sometimes it wasn't her voice.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell, her voice was in there, but then you could also tell that there's like a different voice.
Right. And that's what's, yeah. Don't like that. Don't like that at all.
You don't like that one?
No, because that's pretty fucked up.
Well, I believe it to be, a demon, as you would know.
Mm-hmm.
But what's sad about this whole thing is that she died, and they never really got her fully exorcised. So she died sort of during the exorcisms.
How?
I would have to go into that. Like, I can't really pull it up right now.
Well...
But basically, she died, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the priest was charged with murder, which I don't think...
That's a tough one. Is it possible that the priest killed her? Yes. Is it possible that she was just literally dying, and that's just what you hear in the recording?
Yes.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
That sound recording right there, again, we are audio engineers, at least in major and sometimes in professional settings. That didn't sound slowed down. And the fuzz, since it sounded like a tube... mic,
this is from like the 50s.
Yeah, it sounded like a tube mic. When it was dropping in pitch, that fuzz wasn't dropping in pitch.
No, that fuzz stayed the same.
So that was it sounded effectively more or less unaltered from its original state, which makes it so much more fucked up because no one was digitally editing the sound, which is so easy in this modern...
Yeah, this would be the original audio.
Right. That sounds like a fucking demon to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to vote for demon on this one. I rarely do, but... I'm not voting for demons, but...
Go, demon, go!
Jesus.
No, that's not...
No Ouija boards in this apartment. Let's maintain that rule right here.
Hey, I'm with you there on that one.
Right. That was fucked up, man. Let's move on to the next. So, possession. Let's just get into that grand scheme. Yeah? I think last episode I said no, but...
Oh, now?
That was a lot worse, man. That was really fucked up. Because, like... I don't know, a lot of this shit, a lot of this paranormal shit, it's so easy to dismiss. Even, like, the recordings, without having the spirit box and actually just listening to, it's so easy to just say, well, you can't understand that voice. But some of the recordings you've had, which are not in either of these podcasts...
No.
Amazing recordings. I feel like they deserve videos of their own. Like, there's like it's like the sound in a spirit box should cut off if it was radio frequencies. Because it's a radio frequency scanning 100 milliseconds at a time.
And the best ones from the spirit box, you could tell that the sound...
is staying the same.
Well, also, that. But then you could tell that it's an actual voice coming through it, like how it's not radio.
Right.
like on the Not Me one, like I could, like basically you can hear
a voice.
Yeah, a voice, but right before the voice, you hear absolute silence. Like it's just.
Yeah, and then during the voice, you still hear it changing frequencies. You do. You hear it changing frequencies, but that's in the background. In the foreground, you still hear the voice continuing the words.
Right, but then right before the voice, like there's no.
Right.
It just goes silence, and then the voice, and then it. I mean, it basically lowers the volume of everything else, and then you just hear the voice, and then after the voice it raises the volume back up, which is
I'm almost
that's I mean really that's sort of how you know.
I do really want to go on one of these hunting trips sometime for this stuff, because that recording, again, I don't have 100% proof until I see it live.
Yeah.
But if I'd see that live coming out of a spirit box, man, I'd be scared shitless, because that seems pretty legit right there. Like pretty conclusive evidence, even from a skeptical standpoint.
Oh yeah.
We just moved away from possession, which I think is fine. I think we had enough possession for today.
Yeah, that was some weird audio there.
Yeah, that was. Let's.
But I would like to talk about spirit boxes.
Yeah, sure.
I would like to talk about this because another thing popped up in my head here. But another voice. I'm sort of getting away from the mic here, but another voice that I think you would love is this one.
He's checking on his phone if you want to know why there is a delay or whatever. So I'll just keep you entertained with some singing while he finds it. Ooh-wee, ooh-wee, we found the audio recording, but again, it's from a TV episode, and we don't want to have any copyright infringements.
Yes.
So,
well, we can talk about it though. I mean, but I feel like without the audio.
It's even for me, again, from a skeptical person, it's pretty damn good.
Yes, it is.
He's holding a pop filter in front of his mic 2 feet away. It's fine. We're moving on to the next topic.
Okay.
Which, it's a throwback to a previous topic. We talked about Led Zeppelin a lot last episode because, I don't know about you, I love Led Zeppelin. Love it. But, gotta admit, they love Satan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that. Yeah.
The reason we're going back to it is because it feels a little bit more substantial than we may have given it credit before. I don't know why, but Devin told me to put this.
No,
here,
it's just that basically this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It sounds way more horrifying coming through these headphones, but the reason it's so substantial, why we point out in the last episode, was because it would have taken, especially in a time of analog recording, a lot of fucking effort, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of planning to put that kind of message in a song called Stairway to Heaven, where you play it back and you're going to hell.
Right. It's sort of like, well, it would make sense because because they're talking about a stairway, which goes up. Right. So then if you go backwards on a stairway, you're going down.
Yeah.
Into hell.
Right. And that's it's a very substantial message, even in what is arguably Led Zeppelin's greatest song. Some would argue. Mm-hmm. I would argue it. It's a great song.
It is.
But the reason it seems so substantial is because these guys were so amazing at what they did. and the fridge started. So we're gonna have to end this episode pretty soon.
Okay. But then the reason why I find it a lot or really substantial is that before I had a belief, in demons and whatnot, and I thought they were real. But this sort of made me, I wouldn't really say frightened, but just more aware that they are out there.
Right. And that, I feel, is because it's knowing that these prominent of members felt so strongly about something that they put in the time, the effort, and a message that was not literally, we love Satan, hey, look how edgy we are.
Right.
It was like an actual message to Satan. I don't think it was intended to convert people to Satanism, as some have said. That's not how backmasking works. It doesn't just give you subliminal messages, which are real, not paranormal, anything like that. They're real. But
there are songs written exactly just to play backwards.
Right. And these guys really started that. Before then, it was not really much of a explored concept. I mean, yes, I believe even before this it existed, but this is so...
But it wasn't really,
like
the thing to do.
The reason it wasn't like a thing to get attention. You know, because who would think, let's play Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven backwards at this specific verse so we can hear a message, Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it definitely is substantial. And possibly, if all else, some of the best evidence that you can hear with your own two ears about... I'm not just going to say Satan, because that's just a little...
God.
I said Satan too many times.
But then I say God, so...
Yeah, so it evens it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written some songs about Satan. Shouldn't have. Like, they were way too happy for some reason.
Yeah, that sort of sounds frightening there.
They were frightening. In fact, on a college project, I just turned it in to a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
you did.
As the chorus, he gives me power, he gives me strength, but in this hour, he made me weak.
It's
fucked up.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
I don't worship Satan, by the way.
No, but you just said that how you hate songs that are happy about Satan, and yet you wrote a happy song.
I hate songs that are edgy. I hate songs that are the Suicide Squad mentality, I call it now. Songs that are trying to be edgy.
So you want songs to be happy?
No, I just want
about Satan.
No, I don't want songs to be happy about Satan. I just want songs that are... My song was not about Satan worship. It was simply saying... It was a song about a man who Satan... Like, he sells his soul to Satan, and Satan owns it. Okay, I'm not helping myself. I'm really not. So, on that bombshell, thank you for listening to Life Spirits Paranormal. I'm Franklin. Say your goddamn name. Just give me this.
And I'm Devin.
Good night.